Looking at all the bad publicity that RWBY has got to impose the release of Volume 5, I was curious as to whether or not these claims some people were making that the series has always been bad and was actually legitimate. So I went back to watch it from the beginning, and in my personal opinion, I do think the quality was a little better back then. And I feel like the main problem with the first few volumes of RWBY is that they seem to be setting up a story they don't know. I heard that the idea to have the maidens and all the relics and the two gods started somewhere around volume 2 or 3. So I decided that I was going to try something a little different. Instead of the traditional rewrite that many people do, by starting from the very beginning and rebuilding the world up, I decided I was going to try going back to a previous checkpoint and continuing on from my adventure from there. In honor of the release of RWBY Volume 6, I've decided to release a RWBY rewrite that instead of starting from Volume 1, starts from Volume 3, building off what Volume 2 did. Unfortunately, because Volume 1 and 2 are mostly just trying to build up to a bigger worldwide adventure, I have to go back and make a few minor adjustments to the story of both volumes. And here they are. No Silver Eyes line. Every citizen knows what aura is and has had their own activated. Aura has to be consciously activated. A place in Beacon depends solely on the skill as determined by the headmaster, though the students don't necessarily need to know that. The Grimm in the forest have been blinded and weakened by the teachers so that the students don't die while fighting them. Aura or dust infused with aura is the only way to harm Grimm unless you do something extreme like, say, throwing them off a cliff. If trained enough, it also provides superhuman strength. This is why robots can't do the fighting and Penny is so important. The Deathstalker was inactive for years, but John's nervousness in its cave was enough negative energy to wake it up. Blake says that her name is Blake Bell. The Borg Grimm is perfectly healthy. John uses his semblance the moment the Ursa's head is cut off, though he doesn't necessarily know that. Son isn't a stowaway, he's just getting off the ship too early. Have it be said that being a more lawless country, the huntsmen and huntresses of Vacuo are also trained to fight people. Penny's semblance is also polarity, but her effect is the strings. The more strings that appear, the stronger her hold is. I'm going to take a moment to explain what that means. This RWBY rewrite is inspired by another YouTuber who is writing his own RWBY series, starting from the beginning and rewriting the story reusing his own lore. And in it he says that semblances have an effect, and whatever they do, they usually have something to show around it. Like, say, Ruby's rose petals are the effect of her speed and things like that. Also, for clarity's sake, the effect of Glinda Goodwich's telekinesis is music. Where was I? Oh yes. Cut out Crow's message. And here's the end credit scene. Roman meets with Adam and complains about the under-trained White Fang members he was given. Adam says that they weren't expecting any huntsman interference, but he is interested in knowing exactly who they fought since Roman managed to escape capture. Roman describes Blake and her powers and her friends. Adam frowns before saying, "I'll pull some strings and take care of it." Aura can cover inanimate objects, which is why weapons or food isn't destroyed when used in a fight. Cinder, Emerald and Mercury work for Adam, with Cinder acting as Roman's liaison. The three are fauners who, along with Neo, hid their animal traits. The White Fang does this to have huntsman level fighters, and they are actually 17, except Cinder, who is 18. For clarity, Adam is 21 and Roman is in his mid-20s. They are going to use the stolen dust. Cut out Ospin's whole conspiracy. No cryptic conversations, no pointless armies, and no maidens or Salem or reincarnating Ospin or Ironwood bringing in an army. Ospin says it's odd Ironwood is in the kingdom, and Ironwood responds, "I'm preparing a little project." Atlas is presenting robots designed to fight Grim, as well as the Atlesian Paladin, which is more of a giant mech designed to let multiple people fight Grim of higher caliber than they are by working together inside a giant robot. No one is surprised by Penny's strength, but Ruby notices that part of her foreskin has fallen off. Penny says that her father made a deal with Ironwood and that he would be allowed to keep her if they helped him build her, and which confuses Ruby. Junior says that his men wound up in prison after fighting some crazy kid. In the Paladin fight, Sun and Neptune help because if not, why are they here? It's big and powerful but uncoordinated enough and with a weak enough total aura to be beaten by 6 students. Also, the name Ruby calls out should actually reflect the move. I'm okay with Ice Flower, Bumblebee and Freezerborn, but I think Ladybug should reflect a more airborne attack. And Checkmate should be from the opposite sides, kind of like what Ladybug looks like. Sun and Neptune provide distractions and or covering fire. Replace Spira vs Team Cardinal with her fighting actual Grim, because in this version they don't actually train by fighting other huntsmen, they train by fighting Grim. They have no, as far as they're concerned, there's no reason to prepare to fight huntsmen that much. Yes, that means that Team Cinder doesn't actually learn Pyrrha's semblance. Instead, Mercury just fights Grim after her and they use it to compare their fighting styles. Even though it's clear Mercury is holding back, it should also be clear that in a fight, Cinder would probably beat him. I do this because really there's no reason for Cinder and Co to care about Pyrrha's semblance in this version. Oh, but leaving the scene where Cinder is knitting. What is she knitting anyway? The series has left me rather confused about Team Sun's origin since the way it looks, it seems like Sun just snuck into Veil from Vacuo and found a way to join a group from Mistral. So I'm going to say that Sun just moved to Mistral, or kind of how Weiss came to Beacon from Atlas. Make no mistake, at the moment Summer Rose just died on a mission. This scene remains the same except for the "they were here" comment. And Ironwood says that they are going to go over every program in the communications tower with a fine tooth, and then it cuts out before they talk about serving or scouts. Ospin says they saw robot parts, rose petals, ice and burn marks on a bridge. Also, the Quadrant 5 mission is available to all students, but Ospin talks to them about making sure to not ignore the professional huntsman going with them. Velvet doesn't say that there were so many Grim, but rather the Grim were so much stronger than they were used to. Weiss should say that in a family known for its inherited semblance, being a huntsman is a necessity for running the company. Keeping the scene, but now it's vaguely about Penny. When Torchwick says they should go ahead of schedule, this guy's complaint is that there are very few huntsmen left to fight in Vale, and Torchwick laughs it off and tells him clearly you never went to Beacon. Another major change is that very few White Fang members are actually going to get on the train. That is only the ones who could survive, say, crashing a train through a wall. Especially when the plan is to get the Grim into the city. Why bring weapons and weak people? The plan is for the White Fang fodder to distract them while Torchwick and the Chosen Few drive the train into Vale while detonating the bombs. This gets rid of the fight scene on the train, but it also makes more sense than they've decided to bring their very valuable weapons on a train designed to crash. Also, the bombs could be said to have been made by some of the stolen dust. Seriously though, I'm pretty sure this guy dies. The dust Blake uses should be her own. The final fights are Ruby and Weiss vs White Fang Lieutenant, Yang vs Neon, and Blake vs Torchwick. Ruby and Weiss barely overpower the Lieutenant's weapon and force expelling semblance, with Ruby's speed and Weiss's time dilation. Also, Weiss is a better match against him than Ruby, due to her mastery over her semblance. Yang vs Neon should have Neon focus more on tricking Yang with her semblance, but it goes the same right up to the end. Despite Blake's use of dust, Roman uses his semblance to steal her weapons before tearing them aside and physically overpowering Blake. He then leaves to see how Neo is doing and sees that she's won. However, that's when Dr. Oobleck shows up. An alarm bell begins ringing and Roman tells Neo to grab the lieutenant and leave. Neo offers him a hand, but he shakes his head, saying he'll create an opening, and begins fighting Oobleck, managing to match the teacher. Neo disappears and Roman says that they should brace for impact before breaking a vial of dust, encasing himself in earth. Weiss then does her ice shell trick as the train crashes. Then it's business as usual. Team RWBY does not perform well against the Grimm. There are too many and they are more powerful than what the girls are used to. The arrival of the city-based teams, Team Juniper, all of Team Sun, not just these two, and Team Coffee's, Syndarch's group, including Neo, and the Huntsmen, meant to be helping the teams manage to hold the Grimm back until Goodwitch can reveal and reseal the hole. This is meant to show how overwhelming the Grimm actually are, and how the Huntsmen's semblances make them extremely powerful compared to the students. The fight also shows that John can keep up and even surpass his teammates physically, but his lack of skill puts him below them in effectiveness. As they arrest him, Roman thanks Professor Goodwitch for cleaning up his mess and smiles at them. Everyone takes it as him being cocky except for the person he's looking at, Neo, who waves at him from the back. Afterwards, they discuss how it was too easy to catch Torchwick and the fact that they didn't really stand a chance against the stronger White Fang members. Weiss says that it's because they usually only train to fight Grimm, and that they need to train their semblances to match the semblances so that they would be able to match their opponents. When RWBY points out how powerful Weiss says that her semblance is hereditary and that she's been training it for a long time. Yang asks if they really think that was it, and Blake says that extremists or not, the White Fang wouldn't target a city with Fornos living happily in it, and that in all honesty, Vale is third lowest target, just ahead of Vacuo and Menagerie, which are both considered non-targets. Also, they are saying this with Team Sun and Juniper present, and they all agree to learn to fight people before it devolves into a playful argument over who will win the battle section of the Vital Tournament. There is no reason for Ospin's job to be in question after a terrorist attack, although now would be a good time to let the soldiers of Atlas be allowed into Vale, especially the robots. Those will be important later. Ironwood escorts Roman to his cell. After Ironwood leaves, Roman is made to change and uses his semblance to take a piece of machinery out of the lining of his boots and then move it inside a wall without his guards noticing. Cut to Cinder and Neo arguing as best as a voiceless person can about how it's Cinder's fault. Cinder argues back, but then Adam arrives and rebukes Cinder, saying that if she hadn't failed in her infiltration mission, the only decent human being they know wouldn't be in jail. But it doesn't matter because the virus has successfully been planted. They can strike as soon as Atlas bring in the extra security robots. This gives a reason for why they attacked Vale, to get the robots, and why Torchwick had to be arrested. His semblance was perfect for planting the bug in Atlas's machines, and the fact he was arrested for a terrorist attack makes him a high priority target. So it is likely they would give him over to Atlas. They also talk about how people knowing that the White Fang was responsible is a big setback, but not one they can't overcome. Cut out the ending nonsense. So those were the slight, or towards the end, rather big changes I made to RWBY for my version, which will start out at volume 3. I had to make the changes because this version of RWBY isn't really going to be some world-changing fight against the source of the Grimm. The Grimm are just really part of the setting. This fight is going to be primarily against the White Fang, and so it's going to be smaller in scale. Though depending on how things go, they might still wind up traveling the world anyway. So tell me what you think in the comments. Did you like it? And do you have any suggestions for any other changes that I could make? Don't forget to like and subscribe because I honestly can't tell you when I'm going to be posting the next video. Thank you.